Welcome to Grit and Grace, the place where grit shapes you, grace carries you, and friends walk beside you through it all. I'm Pam Rader, and along with my co-hosts Erin Payne and Brian Thiessen, we're here to laugh, cry, and tell the truth about what it means to be fully human. Think of us as your old friends. We share real stories, a little cowboy logic, and transformational tools. Because here's the thing, life's gonna kick your ass sometimes, but it'll also invite you to rise. And when you've got grit and grace and a few good friends, you will get through it all. So pull up a chair, grab your coffee, and buckle up. Hey everyone, welcome back to Grit and Grace. It is Pam Rader with my sidekick.
Hey everybody, Erin here.
We have been talking about some old school stuff. A long time ago, Erin and I did some work with Bob Proctor's Institute, and we loved the work. It was great, and he based a lot of his work on Neville Goddard, who is an old teacher who wrote some really beautiful, profound books. And Neville Goddard was probably his biggest teaching was around the law of assumption. And what that is that what we consistently assume to be true, emotionally, mentally, and imaginatively, eventually has no other option but to harden into our external reality. Which means our reality isn't happening to us, we are generating it through our thoughts, through our imagination. Now, this one's a hard one to wrap our heads around. And Erin and I have been talking about this, and we're still in the having a bit of a time. But you know what? We're not attached to anything being perfect before we share it with y'all. So
Messy sometimes is okay.
yeah, we're a yes for the mess of this today because
Yes.
I had a kind of a big discovery recently, and I've been examining my life in a new way. And Erin has also been examining her life from this lens just over the last couple of days. And what's opening up for us is something both sad that we have to have some grief for, but also extraordinarily exciting and empowering because we recognize that we have so much more power than we thought.
Which can feel scary. And sometimes I feel like if we can connect some of the dots, then we can really make it work for us, you know?
Yeah.
As long as we are aligned and in our truth.
And I want to get to a lot of people rely on these kind of frameworks and they're like, I'm a Neville Goddard junkie, or I do Bob Proctor's work, or I do this or that. I study all the things not to be attached to any framework. They are just points of entry for us to understand ourselves. But the work is for us to understand ourselves and then to integrate that understanding, not to follow anyone's specific prescription, because they're all just lenses that we can look through. And that's a mistake that I've made in the past, was thinking that other people knew more than me, they were more powerful than me, and I abdicated a lot of my decision-making to people that I assumed knew more. And then that played out in my life.
Yeah, I get that.
So I think that we want to first say that what we consistently assume to be true, emotionally, mentally, and imaginatively, eventually hardens into our external reality. That's the law of assumption. But it's not because the universe is magically granting wishes, but because our assumptions shape our perception, our behavior, our emotional state. They shape our nervous system responses. They shape our decisions. They shape our identity, what we tolerate, what we pursue. They shape what we unconsciously recreate. And so we have to, if we're really taking a look at wanting to be at our most powerful, our most aligned in our lives, then we actually have to get down and dirty in the mud with our assumptions. And if you want to know what your assumptions are, look at the state of your life right now. So let's talk about a couple of things that have come clear. I'll share one for me, and then I'll invite you, Erin. I've been thinking about this law of assumption, and I realized that in two places in my life where this was negatively impacted and a place in my life where it positively impacted. And I recognized very on a very deep level that I did all of it, both or all 3 times, and there was something really freeing in knowing that. So number 1, my son Nicholas, his father was an alcoholic and an addict, and he had mental health problems. And I braced my whole life raising my son. I assumed he was destined to become an addict and it would be terrible. And though I diligently worked hard to make sure that that wasn't the case, that had no other opportunity but to play out. And I'm not saying I caused my son's addiction. I'm just saying in my reality, the only way that could have played out was through because I was so convicted, so certain that it would happen. And basically all my efforts around not making it happen were like voodoo trying to stave it off, you know?
Mhm.
But the assumption, the fear was so deep that it had no other way to play out. Now, the second place where it negatively impacted, and I'm sure there's a 10,000 places, honestly, but the second place that comes to mind is when I got together with Chris, my third husband, that our marriage just recently, a year ago, ended. Chris and I were madly in love, and we had the greatest time, and it was all fun in the first years. And though I had left every relationship I'd been in, I had never been broken up with. And I just assumed, like, everyone gets that experience of heartbreak in their life. You don't escape it. It's gonna happen someday. And so, actually, when Chris pulled the rug out from underneath me, yes, I was quite shocked for sure. And then also not. I was like, oh, here it is. Here, there was a part of me that was like, yep, it's playing out. And I realized that I'd held this belief that I wouldn't be complete in my experience of life unless I'd have my heart broken in that way. So it played out. Now, more recently, what I realized in the current relationship that I'm in is that even when the relationship wasn't guaranteed, when it was still in its early stages, and I had to let go of the idea that this person, might choose me or might not choose me or whatever, I just made an assumption. I had this deep belief, this deep assumption that we have work to do together, that we are meant to follow some path, and it wasn't a longing, it was a knowing. I had this assumption about it, and I could see us living a life together. And even though he had moved on and was dating someone else, and everything externally looked like that wasn't going to happen, there was something in me that just quietly knew it would, and it wasn't delusional, and I wasn't chasing or, like, begging or you know? And here we are, in this relationship a year later, and it's playing out. So that was a disciplined use of my mind, whereas the other instances were maybe an undisciplined use of my mind,
Mhm.
operating from fear instead of trust, operating from trying to prevent rather than realizing that my imagination is the greatest instrument of creation. What are some ways that you have made some assumptions that played out in your life, Erin, that you would have said, "No, I had nothing to do with it," but looking back, you're like, "Wow, I've always actually had that assumption, so of course it played out."
The first one for me that comes to mind, so first of all, I know what you're saying, you just have this thing in the back of your mind where it's like, one way or the other, And one of the things that I had in the back of my mind all the time with my co-parent, my ex-boyfriend, was that it was gonna be a 10-year relationship.
Wow.
And I don't know why that is, right? Like, it's just like, "Oh my gosh." Now, we lasted 13 years, and so but I feel like that's pretty close, but it was like there was an ending happening, right? And I'm like you,
I wanna challenge you there because actually you did have a 10-year relationship because once August was born, you knew it was kinda done.
yeah, well, actually, yeah,
It took you 3
that's
years
true.
to leave.
It took me a couple of years to make the decision, and then yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
so you did have a 10-year relationship.
Yeah, that's maybe accurate for sure. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a real barn burner to think about. It's not awesome for sure. But I'd never been broken up with either, and I knew that I was gonna leave as well, or there was just something in the back of my mind, like, I don't know. I tried though. I did. I tried as best as I knew how to try.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
God, I tried everything to not to make sure my son didn't suffer from addiction. I tried everything to,
Mhm.
be a good wife and be a good partner and have a good relationship with my ex-husband, but there was this underlying I don't know if it's my psyche bracing for the possibility. I'm not sure, but I could look back and say there was something low grade like background music playing the whole
Mm,
time. Like just as soft, like you almost can't hear it, but
mhm,
it's definitely in the background, and there's some part of my subconscious that was just tuned into that.
mm. Yeah, and I wanna say, like, I don't want to shame myself for that because it's not like I was consciously thinking it. I just every once in I don't know. I can't it's hard to explain what it actually feels like and what it sounded like. Definitely.
Well,
But,
we could get into, like, I mean, we've talked about the nervous system a lot, and I'm sure it's the nervous system, neuroception, looking around for patterns, and every time we have an assumption like that, it's based on something old. But that's another episode, and we've talked about the
yeah.
nervous system a lot. I wanna talk about this, like, okay, but we also have a mind that we can imagine and envision, and not from a place of lack, but like it's already happening. And then reality, if we follow the law of assumption, reality has no choice but to bend to
To catch
that
up.
vision because
Mhm.
our conviction, our belief is so powerful. And that's because then if we assume it's going to happen, we walk differently through the world. We think from it, we act from it, we feel from it, we identify from, yeah, I'm chosen, or I'm healthy, happy, I'm wealthy. Like you move differently through the world if you believe you're wealthy versus believing that you'll always struggle with money.
Yes. Yes. One of the most visceral, I guess, experiences I have of manifesting one of my assumptions was when I got pregnant with both my sons. So I was ready. I said to myself, I'm ready to have kids. I'm ready. And it felt like a full body yes. And then a month later, I got pregnant with my first son. And then I was so traumatized by that birth
Dude, me
that I was
too. We
like,
both have 6 years between our sons because I was
yeah,
fucking traumatized.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah. I never realized that. Yeah. But I was like, I am not ready. I can't even imagine it. Like my body was a no. And then it started to slowly change. And I was like, well, I kind of want another one, blah, blah, blah. I want to have two. I don't want Hayes to be the only child. And then one day I said to my friends, I think I'm ready to have another baby. And I said, I think, but I was ready. I felt it. And a month later, I was pregnant with August. So those 2 right there are like to me, those are I manifested that because I assumed that that was gonna happen, and I just created it.
Now, if we look at the spiritual practices of yoga, and in the Bhagavad Gita, it's really a journey with the human journey between doubt and dharma, doubt and our purpose in life, or living out our purpose. And I think that our the more I live, the more I think our purpose is simply to realize that we are the creators and we can create anything we want,
Mhm.
and to really live into that. To move
Mhm.
from life happening to us to recognize that it's not happening, not even for us, it's happening because of us. And
Mhm.
and to continue to pull out the weeds of doubt, and to train our it's not just training our minds, because you do have to train your body and your nervous system, and we'll talk about how to do that in a bit, but wouldn't that be the purpose, to come here and be fully expressed as a creator?
Yes. Neville Goddard, that was one of my biggest takeaways from that course, was Neville Goddard basically said, "The image that we're actually created in of God,
Mhm.
if you wanna call him whatever you wanna call it, is that we are the creator of our own lives. That's the image that we're created in. We are the creator." And I that just blew my mind because it was like, "Oh, no, it's not what we look like. It's we are a creator." And
Yeah.
that changed everything for me.
Me too,
And
and I'm just now though really starting to, and we talked about this yesterday,
yeah,
just starting to really like be, "Oh, I
yeah.
actually think I get it."
Yeah, 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 exactly. Like, now it's like, "Oh, this is." So one of my second one, I just got out of a 7-month relationship recently, and I thought I had it in the back of my mind that this was gonna last a long time. I really did. And when I look back, I did a lot of healing in this relationship, like a lot, because I called you most of the time through it, but there was still playing under the surface, I am not chosen. I am not loved enough. There's not enough love for me to go around. All of my core wounds were just really present, and that's because I was bringing them up and I was healing them and all of that. But this one's a little bit messy because it's like I don't like, oh, what's happening or what's going on. But I did have the thought that it would last a lot longer. And what was actually playing under the surface was my core wounds were quite alive and there.
We get experiences that will show us that that wound is still alive. So instead of saying, "Well, this is just like life happening and I have no control," we can go, "It's there is still an assumption there. There is still a belief there that I haven't rooted out yet." And share what happened to you last night.
Yeah. And so I just want to say, like, the act of choosing myself at the end of this last relationship was a massive signal to the universe that I am not settling. And what I truly want is a new version of myself. And, so the action of leaving was quite loyal to myself. And that's huge. There's a huge realization for me.
So you
And
acted as if you valued yourself and that you are worthy of someone who fully chooses you and that you fully choose.
yes, exactly. Because that wasn't happening. And I chose myself. We talk about when we choose ourselves, we don't need others to choose us. And I got that lesson in this last one,
There's
in
this
this
funny
last
thing, we
relationship.
talked about this too, so before you share what happened last night, I wanna talk about that too, because then there's this kind of narrative going on social media, and I'm just so sick of it. I unfollowed so many people yesterday, like, all the TikTok, Instagram, relationship influencers talking about attachment, talking about this, talking about that, because there's so many people that it's just, like, bullshit clickbait, and
Mhm.
it plants things, and then we make assumptions from there, and we operate from those assumptions, and we make those things true.
There's
One of the predominant ideas out there on social media is that choose yourself. Just choose yourself. And until you choose yourself, no one's going to choose you. But there's also this sort of underlying message that if you desire a relationship, if you desire companionship, communion with another being, that that must be weak, that you're not healed. And
and
so
you're
there's
not
this,
choosing yourself,
yeah, there's this sort of
which
parallel,
is ridiculous.
like, shame muck that we get into with it. And we are communal beings, we are tribal beings, and it's perfectly okay to desire to be loved and to love and to share a life. And that's, yes, it's different than needing that to prove that you're worthy. But I
Yes.
think that we get into the risk is that the pendulum swings from this, "Oh my god, I need someone to tell me that I'm beautiful and they love me for me to feel okay," to, "I'm totally fine and I choose myself. I am woman, hear me roar, and I don't need anybody and I'm a strong, independent woman," and da, da, da. You're actually that's just the pendulum swing. And and somewhere in the middle is sort of, yeah, self-respect, self-acceptance, self-honoring, self-love, and also honoring the fact that we have desires. And it's
Mhm.
perfectly okay to desire to want to share your life. It's perfectly okay
Yes,
to
it's our
want to
birthright.
desire being in relationship to have things reflected to you.
It's so dangerous to just, like you said earlier, assumptions affect everything that we have in our reality.
Yeah.
And
So,
it's that was scary to me when you were listing that out a little bit because it's like, oh, we've talked about how our thoughts and our emotions can come from an untrue place.
yes.
And that creates the assumptions. And it's like you have to be careful when you're listening to all of these people online and you got to check in. You move through this world with your intuition intact so that you're not being led down a path that isn't good for you and just honoring your truth.
Well, and the thing is, a lot of assumptions are insidious because they come from they weren't even ours, they're adopted assumptions given to
Mhm.
us by parents, grandparents, society. And again, that's why I unfollowed a bunch of people because I was like, I don't need anything influencing my assumptions. But
Yeah.
some ideas around things that our listeners might be assuming, and these come from my own reflections, but assuming that love leaves,
Mhm.
assuming that you have to overfunction to be safe, like control everything and do everything to make sure everything's safe. Assuming that being successful requires hard work and exhaustion. I think that's a big one for a lot of people. Assuming you'll eventually be betrayed. That was there for me. Boy, was it
Mhm.
ever. Assuming you're responsible for everyone, everyone's happiness and everyone's experience. Assuming that peace is always temporary and rest has to be earned.
Mhm. That's a big one.
Yeah. And I mean, those things come from certainly attachment wounds. They come from trauma. They come from nervous system conditioning and all of that self concept. But we can dive into those till the cows come home and not do this one thing that I'd forgotten about since we've been done that program a long time ago. But to just sit and imagine yourself in the experience right now of having the thing, not from a place of longing, like, what would it feel like to have $100,000 in your bank account right now? How would you feel? Like, feel that in your body
Feel it
and feel
is a big
yourself
part of it.
relax into it and not from a place of longing or fear or like, I need that to be whole. Like, it's here. This is my current reality. Why wouldn't I imagine that I have that and feel this peaceful feeling? Why wouldn't
Mhm.
I imagine that the person that I desire also desires me? Why
Mhm.
wouldn't I imagine that I can create anything that I want to create and feel how expansive that feels? And let's play the devil's advocate here. And let's say Neville Goddard was out to lunch and the law of assumption is bullshit, even if that were true. If right now is all you've got, like there is no such thing as the past or the future. We don't live there. We can never live there. We live in the now. You just gave yourself an experience of beauty and peace and love and joy and expansion. Or you could sit there and worry about shit that hasn't happened yet and give yourself an experience of anxiety and panic.
Mhm.
If right now is all you've got, why would you want to fill the moment with worry when you could fill it with beauty? And, honestly, that's something that I had forgotten. And I am so grateful to have been sort of reintroduced to the law of assumption to remind myself, yeah, this is powerful and it's not a wish list. It's about looking at what are my like what's the state of my world out here right now? And that must be because of some assumptions that I have. So what assumptions do I need to look at and shift to change what I experience out here? What are some assumptions that you are witnessing around you in your life right now that you could consciously shift with this knowing?
As you were speaking, I was, like, looking out at my life. It's actually pretty beautiful life. I'm pretty comfortable. I just went to Switzerland and came back. I have everything I need. I have a co-parent who is incredible to me now, which I manifested that shit. I'll tell you that for
Yeah.
free.
Yeah, yeah.
He's incredible. He's supportive now more than ever. He wants to take care of me and the boys, and
Okay, but I wanna
it's
say
amazing.
something as you say that because this is just popped into my head because we have the same ex-husband, basically my second husband, Rob, and your ex are very similar, and our scenarios are kind of similar in a way.
Mhm.
Was the best ex-husband ever, great father, amazing man. I just couldn't be married to him. Yeah, but also both of us had an underlying assumption that we were too much, kind of a flake, maybe not the most responsible person. And so we had to attract a good parent for our children.
Probably, yeah. Because man, my ex is definitely stable.
Yeah, mine too, like, Rob's the most stable guy I know. I could still call him, like, right now and be like, so I'm in jail in Red Deer, Alberta with Erin," and he would come and get us.
Yeah, and he would come, yeah, and I'm going through, like, ups and downs and anxiety spikes and, like, weird ass skeletons in closets, and I'm craving the stability of my ex, and I'm like, "What is that?"
Yeah. Well, I think that, like I said, that may have played out because you and I both had shared, like, this just came to me right now, an assumption that because we've been it's been reflected to us that maybe some of our choices in the past haven't looked responsible to other people.
Yeah, no shit. Totally.
Yeah, and so we have that little assumption that we're not responsible, maybe not capable of doing it on our own, so we selected partners that we knew would do that.
Uh-huh.
We met there was no other way that that could happen. But also that had the impact of affirming that belief about ourselves to some degree because we had these yes, they're stable and yes, they're lovely, but they're also rigid and kinda judgmental. And
Mhm. My way or the highway.
yeah, and had the impact of me feeling diminished at times as a parent.
Yeah. And me feeling completely unseen, like I wasn't even there,
Yeah, so just
you know?
actually playing out the thing we already assumed. I'm a flake.
Mhm.
I'm not capable of this. Doesn't really matter what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy when you look at it like that?
When you really look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So carry on. You were talking about how your life is beautiful right now.
Yeah, well, so some of the okay, I'll tell you what happened to me last night.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
see how some assumptions are playing out, and I'm also committed to living at my highest standard for myself. So anyways, so I just come off this relationship that's kinda messy, and I did a lot of healing, and there was some underlying, like, I'm not good enough, but in the end, I chose myself. So I'm feeling okay, I'm pretty locked down, and I'm feeling good. Last night, I'm at my son's soccer game, and I'm just sitting there, and I catch the eye of a man just on the other side of the bench, of the bleachers, and he was looking at me, and I looked at him, and I didn't really think much of it, and I started watching soccer, and my little one was playing with trucks, and eventually this man comes and sits, and he's good looking, comes and sits down really close to me, and he starts talking to me. And we have this interaction and he's flirting with me and I'm just like, "Oh, this feels good." Right? It feels good to be seen and desired and, I was like, "Oh, the universe is showing me that this is available for me." And I don't have to, try, I guess. That sounds awful.
No?
I just mean like it's available for me. Love is still here.
Yeah,
That's what I mean.
yeah.
Okay? And we made some pretty great eye contact and I flirted back and it was fun. It was like this amazing thread. And so then but the practice ended and I left and I wake up this morning and this guy had tracked me down on Facebook
Mhm,
and sent me a message. And I get it. A lot of women would be like, "Oh, that's creepy." But for me, it's like, "Oh, he has the confidence to pursue me." And
mhm.
so I'm going to see what's going on here. Well, I look at his profile page and it appears, and I want to leave space for maybe this isn't the case, but it appears he's married.
Yeah.
And not only that, his wife was actually last night sitting about 6 seats down from me, right there. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Oh
Yeah,
my God.
wow.
Right away, did I attract that in? Like, what in the blue fuck is happening here? Excuse my language, everybody.
No, I love that though because it's like, men you've said in past episodes, men don't give me rings, they don't choose me, and so
Yes.
you attract men that have, in the past, your assumption about that has
Yes.
drawn in the experience of men that are not fully available to you, and what's like, more obviously not fully available to you than a married man?
Yes, and I mean, I have been in that scenario before. And, one time in the summer, I went to Canmore and I attracted a guy who had an open relationship. And I'm just like, what? And that's the assumption. And you said it all. Like, men won't meet me fully.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I don't want to crap on myself too much. I'm not out here trying to, like, obviously trying to do this. It's kind of crappy, actually. And what I see as the beauty in it right now is like, call me when you're single, and that's it. No more communication. Like, so I can choose myself in this moment and be like, I don't think so, dude."
Yeah. And also to realize, like, oh, I have this underlying assumption that only unavailable men will choose me, or I have to choose myself.
Yes.
And I could
See?
open up the
Sneaky.
third option of I attract fully available love into my life with ease. I've done all this work so that I'm ready to attract that into
Mm,
my life and to sit in that assumption and to feel what it would feel like to have someone fully meet you and fully
mhm.
arrive into your life in a way that is so unexpected and joyful and to sit and like kind of steep in that feeling. Like even now I feel it for you. I'm like can feel that
Yes.
and that emotion creates a different way of walking through the world, a different way of seeing yourself in the world, a different way of acting. And that would also perpetuate, you know, yeah, maybe, yeah, call me when you're single for sure, but it might look like something more like, you know what, you're really cute, but I'm only available for available men.
Mhm. I like that.
And that's
Yeah, I
like
can
just
really
like,
say
and you're just
something
like,
good.
that's just like making that assumption real in your butt because you act differently when you believe that.
Yes, when my queen energy is fully online.
Yeah.
You know what's coming to me now? We just talked about this yesterday where you were like, I want this for you. I want you to feel that kind of love." And you described waking up to a man every day that I'm proud of and what he's doing in the world, and waking up to him in that I love him and choose him first and foremost, and he returns that. And he's amazing with my children. And for some reason, that image and that vision is really keyed in to my deepest alignment in my body too. And it just feels like so much more than even when I was going through the course and saying to myself, okay, I want a man who does blah, 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 and he has to be blah, 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 blah. It's like you said it to me yesterday, and I was like, whoa, that vision of it in my imagination feels real.
Yeah,
And
it's not
I'm
a
there.
checklist of he needs to make this much money or he has to be this tall or he has to have this background or have no kids or whatever. It's like, how do I feel in that relationship?
Yeah.
I feel proud and I feel loved.
And using my assumptions like we're talking about now, and my assumptions around it and my imagination as the key creator. I am the creator, and my imagination is like a key part of it that I I just yesterday when you said it, I was just like, "Whoa," I'm in. And
Yeah.
I wrote about it this morning.
Amazing. Well, and this takes us to the point where we can sort of help people get here because we have two ways to live through life and we can go with an undisciplined mind, essentially. Now, your undisciplined mind is going to scan for fear and danger, and you're going to be operating from the assumption that you're not enough and therefore not lovable, and that bad things happen to you, and that maybe you're never going to be wealthy and you're never going to have a great relationship. And all that will be playing. And you can have affirmations out the yin yang. You could say, as Tony Robbins says, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds. But if you don't pull the fucking weeds, there's weeds.
Mhm.
The affirmations don't do anything. An
Mhm.
undisciplined mind is bracing for the worst and hoping for the best. Hope
Yeah.
is for suckers.
Yeah, that's good.
It's just for suckers. So, what an undisciplined mind does is it rehearses fear over and over again. We create a record groove. It relives pain as a reminder, like, we don't want to go there. Then it scans for evidence that this thing must be true because we love to be right more than we love to be happy. So we have the confirmation bias. See, the economy is so bad. No wonder I have no money. And
Mhm.
then it strengthens or reinforces the assumptions, strengthens the neural pathways for us to believe that those things are true, and it recreates emotional familiarity. So you attract the dude who's potentially married.
Mhm.
Emotional familiarity, that's all that is.
That is exactly what it was, and I can see that so clearly right now.
And
Totally.
a disciplined mind And think about discipline. Like to go to the gym and strengthen muscles, you can't just lift a weight one time or have a realization that I should go to the gym and think that your muscles will be strong. You have to do the work and go to the gym. So we go to the mental gym and we sit in the assumption of what we want for a few minutes a day. And that interrupts default patterns. It starts to notice, oh, those are assumptions that I don't want to play out. It consciously redirects your attention. It lets you practice new identity states. Before I started speaking on stages sort of regularly, I would sit and envision myself standing on a TED Talk stage with like a couple thousand people until it felt like no thing. And now I don't get nervous anymore at all. Like I made that assumption that that's what I do and I just do it. And it's like sports guys that visualize putting the puck in the net or the ball in the
Yeah,
net.
totally. I used to do that all the time in my sports.
Yeah. So we're rehearsing what we want to see. And that actually has us practice a new identity state. I'm someone who can make the basket. I'm someone who can score the goal. I'm someone who attracts available men. I'm someone who, you know, can stand on a stage with ease and confidence. And it's not an affirmation. I've already been there. Your mind does not know the difference between past and future. So when you visioneer, if you will, the future, your brain thinks it's already happened, which is
Yeah, I love that.
amazing. And that creates emotional congruence. You were talking yesterday about congruence. So most people are unconsciously practicing the exact reality that they say they don't want.
I know, right?
Yeah.
What a revelation to realize that that's what's happening in your life, though. It's freedom if you can get over the the kinda ickiness of it.
Yeah. So the law of assumption is not pretending. We're not pretending that someone like, I'm just going to pretend that I have a boyfriend if you don't, like that's not what it
Yeah,
is. It's not bypassing pain. It's not denying reality. And it's not toxic positivity. It's not manifesting Ferraris from your couch, my friends. That's not what's
right.
happening here. But what it is becoming aware of the internal lens that you keep looking through. And then understanding that your perception then drives your behavior and recognizing that the body follows the mind and realizing that repeated emotional states become our identity. So, what if I repeat the emotional state of loving and loved? If I repeat the emotional state of wealthy and generous, if I
Mm,
repeat the emotional state of confident and competent, and I put myself in those states over and over again, I'm going to make phone calls. I'm going to do things I wouldn't do. Let's talk about this from this perspective. We talked yesterday too about an identity shift that I had. Recently, I had someone in my business that had purchased something which I could provide, but they asked for their money back way after the fact, and it was just basically because this person ran out of money and they were needing money, wanted it back. But the reality is the product that I sold them is available to them. It's worth more than what they paid. I can deliver it. I had no obligation to give it back. And I hemmed and hawed and thought maybe I should because this person and da da da. And then I thought, no, I always value other people liking me over actually valuing myself. I am an incredible coach. I am a transformational leader. I have provided life altering material to this person and many people. And she agreed to pay for a product that I provided. So you and I actually called you, and so our listeners know we talk in the background all the time and like, talk
and
each
it
other
was
off ledges.
quite a long time later.
Yeah, it's a long time later.
It
Yeah,
wasn't
it
yeah,
was like a year later.
for
Anyways,
integrity.
so I wrote a letter basically saying this incident's closed. Like, I have provided everything that you needed, and this is, I'm valuable. The value's there, take it or leave it. It's up to you. And I will not be entertaining this anymore. And I was pleasant and professional and polite and all of that and really grounded. Now, you know what's happened since then? I felt a shift in me. And then I have people in my business, in my coaching practice, that signed contracts that maybe didn't pay the whole contract. And I was letting some of that go. I've been sending letters left, right, and center being like, you need to take care of this by this time because I don't work for free.
Yeah,
I don't work for free. I get
that's the
paid well for what I
exchange.
do, and I should get paid well for what I do. And I fully
Yes,
embody
and
that
it's a
now.
leak if you don't.
Yeah. And so that was
I
an
love that.
assumption that just changed. It was like, I have to please everybody for them to want to keep doing business with me, or I have to please everyone to be valuable. And I was like, no, I need to value myself, and not in a push other
Mhm.
people away way, but an actual, like, what would someone who respects themselves, values themselves do about this right now? And in doing it one time, it altered something. Like, I could feel it in my DNA, it just shifted. And now I have an assumption that everyone will pay, and they'll pay what I'm worth. And when my prices get higher, it's not going to be a problem because I'm worth that. And it's not just lip service. I feel that. Took
Mhm.
time to get there
I
though.
love that. I love that for you, and I love how it just took one time of the action.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about with my last relationship. It's just like, okay, this I everything shifted in my being and in my life when I chose myself in that moment. And it was messy, don't get me wrong. And now I'm kind of being asked to choose again, and it's so this time will be way easier obviously. And it's just like one time now I see the veil has come off and it's like, "Oh, this is what it means
Yeah.
to to choose myself," and not in the way that you were talking about, "Oh, choose myself, I wanna be alone, I don't need anybody." No, this is what matters most to me, what my integrity is, and choosing that for myself, even though it's was extremely difficult, and I love that for you. I love that for you. So good.
Yeah. And there's some places that we can look, if you're not sure about what assumptions do I have. Maybe you know that you're a little bit anxiously attached. Well, underneath anxious attachment, there's an assumption of abandonment. If we didn't assume people were going to abandon us, why would we be anxious?
Mhm.
So you can look at that. And one of the tools that I like to use, you and I talked about this yesterday too, is that look for evidence to the contrary. Look for evidence that disproves your assumption, because we were talking about being chosen. And I said, it's funny that we both kind of had this thing that we weren't chosen at certain times. And then I was like, I chose you always. And you said, I've always chosen you too. And then I think about all the people that have
You
chosen
did.
us in our lives, like fully, and embraced us and helped us and invested in us. And like we've been chosen so many beautiful ways and so many times in our
Yes.
lives. And so one person didn't choose me, and I let that be the benchmark for my belief about myself.
Mhm.
Cute.
Yeah, that was a big game changer too. Oh,
And
yeah.
avoidant attachment, which I know sometimes you experience in back and forth, it assumes that you'll have the engulfment or the lack of freedom. Somebody's going to take over my life and it's going to be too much. And so then we back off. So if we look at the ways that that is not true, we can make new assumptions and create something different. And these assumptions create behaviors that recreate the exact feared outcome. Because
Mhm.
if I'm anxious and I chase someone into a corner like a scared cat, they're going to run
Hold on too
away. And
tight.
now I just made it a self fulfilling prophecy. And if you have an assumption that people are going to engulf you and you keep running away, people will keep chasing you and try to engulf you.
And then I'm yeah,
And then you're right.
self-fulfilling.
Yeah. So if I assume someone will leave, I grasp, I monitor, I overanalyze or test them, which creates pressure and disconnection, which then reinforces the original assumption. So think about the fact that your attachment style has a definite um, play in this, but the nervous system does too. The brain does not prioritize truth. The brain prioritizes familiarity, prediction, and survival. We love predictions, and we love it if someone tells us what the future might be. Well, here's some news, as Erin likes to say. I'll tell you that for free. Here's some news. No one can actually predict your future. There are people who are gifted in seeing patterns from the energy that you have right now and the most possible trajectory based on the energy you have right now. And your energy is based on your assumptions about the world. So guess what? You change your assumptions about the world and you actually change your future.
You shift the
Yeah.
timeline.
And so the brain prioritizes familiarity, prediction, and survival. So if chaos feels familiar, if you'll unconsciously create it. If struggle feels tied to your worth, you'll keep recreating struggle. And if love feels unsafe, you keep sabotaging intimacy.
Mhm.
But from the other angle, when we prove to the nervous system that new assumptions are survivable, it's also very plastic and adaptable. And we can shift that. So we can shift the brain, we can have a disciplined mind, we can teach the nervous system to rewire itself. And we can think about questions we can ask ourselves to keep revealing assumptions that are maybe playing in the background to our detriment. Like, you know, what are things that I'm rehearsing daily? Do I hear myself say things like, oh my God, the price of gas and groceries, everything's so expensive? I heard myself say that about 10 times this week. And I was like, that is an assumption. Like, I keep saying life is expensive. Why would I live in that? Life is
Mhm.
just life. There's just a transaction. I trade my time for money, and money is a stand in for what I value. And then I trade that money for other things that I value. There's just this flow of energy happening. And whatever numbers we put to it doesn't really matter. And I want to live in that assumption.
Yes, the flow of energy.
Hmm.
There are many people who live above the idea that life is expensive and hard and it's never gonna get better. Many people
Yes.
live above that.
And so we have to look at what emotional state do I routinely return to? Well, for a lot of us, it's scarcity. There's not enough. Not enough money, not enough love, not enough time. And even like what identity am I unconsciously loyal to?
Yeah,
Like you and I, the flake who never makes the right decision. I'm too much.
I'm too much, yeah.
Yeah, all those things. And we stay loyal to that identity for some weird reason. We try to shape ourselves into something else, but we believe that deeply, so we let it keep playing out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this isn't work that's just gonna be one and done, gone, it takes some awareness. Not a lot, gotta watch that language, right? And it takes awareness
Yeah. Well,
and the desire to move to an identity that is amazing.
and here's the tricky part. Say, I'll believe it when I see it. But the reality is you won't see it till you believe it. And so we have to actually notice where we're waiting for evidence before allowing yourself to shift or feel secure. You have to get that it is your belief that makes it so.
Mhm,
And if you say, well, I believe that I want to be rich, but nothing ever works for you, it's because you have a belief underneath that nothing ever works for you
mhm,
or that you don't deserve it or it can't happen for you or, whatever it is. But what if peace, love, abundance, and belonging were practiced states? What if it's not something out there? What if it's something I practice within myself? Like getting
I
a
love
six
that. Well, you
pack.
said it earlier, repeated emotional states become our reality.
Yeah. So your
I love
subconscious
that.
mind essentially it's like a movie projector, right? Most people are trying to change the movie on the screen while continuing to feed the same film through the projector,
That's a good metaphor.
right? We're like up on the screen, like trying to paint some strokes over so people don't see or wiggle it or whatever. But you
Trace
have
the
to put a new
lines.
movie. Yeah. You got to put a new movie. And we know that, the mind is it's like a garden and the undisciplined mind just grows weeds automatically. A disciplined mind goes in and says, where's the weeds? I got to pull them. And what seeds do I want to plant? That's all it is.
Mhm.
So
Love that.
let's look at what happens when we're mentally undisciplined. And maybe people will see themselves in this. And you and I can admit that we've seen ourselves in these areas too. You can tell me if any
Okay.
of these show up for you.
Okay.
Doom scrolling. Mental
Be a thing?
undiscipline. Yeah, right? I caught myself on
Psychic
TikTok
attacks?
watching stuff about the secret lives of Mormon wives, and I was like, "This is such garbage, it almost makes me wanna throw up in my mouth." And then an hour went by, and I was like, "What am I doing? What am I
Where
even
did my day go?
what is happening? Do I wanna fill any of my awareness with any of that?" It's kinda like a
Yeah.
car wreck, though, I couldn't stop looking, I'm like, "People operate like that? Like, what is"
What is happening here?
What is happening on planet Earth right now? But rumination is another way that we're, mentally undisciplined. Oh my God, why did this happen to me? Why does this always happen to me? This is, that sort of language. Catastrophizing, worrying about what might happen in the future. We really got somewhere yesterday,
Case
like,
scenario.
because it's real to worry about the future. We do that. That's the brain predicting. And we worry about not having enough money, not having enough time, not being chosen, blah, 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 being alone, all that stuff. What if we recognize that it's undisciplined thinking. It's the future never arrives. We're always living in the now. And catastrophizing is just a way that we're trying to control an outcome, but the only thing we have control over is right now. So what would I want to fill this moment with?
Mhm.
So we can sort of make that shift from, wow, I'm causing my own suffering through my catastrophizing. We also have resentment loops. This is such an undisciplined mind. Somebody did something to me and they shouldn't have done it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
that's
you can
why I'm
get trapped in that for
justified.
years.
Yeah, that's why I'm
Yeah.
justified in being mad or sad or what, it is.
Yeah, you can get trapped in that.
Yep, replaying betrayals, that sort of thing, and constantly discussing what's wrong. Oh my god. I think
Oh,
I'm
I
guilty of
know.
that some like, recently in this past year, going through all this healing, it's easy for us both to get caught up in, like, "Oh, there's something I gotta deal with this, and there's something I and maybe this, like, nervous system, it's not right," and well, what about what's right? Look at all the excavation we've done. Look at all the amazing mirrors we've held up to ourselves. Look at the women we're becoming. There's nothing wrong.
Mhm.
Everything's perfect.
I think that's a fine line though because there is to me, there is, like, looking at some of the things that are wrong and maybe, like, becoming aware of them and seeing that they're there so that you can shift your perspective then,
What if we looked
right?
at it instead of wrong? Because I think that's where I get caught up is the language. It's either desirable or undesirable. Is this a way that I
Right.
want to live my life? Is this a way that I want to feel? Is this a desirable emotional state? Is this a desirable way to live or is it undesirable? Then it's not wrong or right. It's like, "Oh, I have choice."
Mhm.
Wrong involves a little bit of self-shaming or blaming, whereas desirable or undesirable is just like, I always have the choice.
Yeah, I like
So,
that.
new assumption is built through a few things. So, let's talk about that. Number one, repetition. You can't just sit there once and feel good. You got to practice it. You're going to have doubt come up while you're doing it. There's a part of your mind that's going to go, "This is stupid. What are you doing? That's not the thing." And that's just the assumption. It's deeply ingrained. It will keep coming up. And you have to practice it until the new assumption is more powerful than the old one.
Yes.
A new assumption is also built through emotional safety. You can't shame yourself into changing. Aligned action, like when you chose yourself, self awareness,
Aligned action. Yeah.
and nervous system regulation. This is my body doing a thing based on an old assumption that is not to do with anything in my external environment. How do I regulate myself right now? Take a couple breaths, go for a walk, do some yoga, whatever it is. And then I practice embodying the new assumption. I'd be really curious to hear from our listeners, like what this practice brings up for them,
Yeah.
now or in the future,
That would be great.
where they maybe see that they have, and this isn't a blame or shame thing, like, but just
No,
like
of course.
really checking like what a powerful creator you are. If you've created undesirable results in the past, great. Now you can see the result of an undisciplined mind and what would be if you could create that.
Yeah.
Imagine what you can create.
Right? It's like it's powerful to see that, "Oh, I created that undesirable result. Like, look what I did. How can I, shift that around?"
Yeah, and
Pretty
you
incredible,
know
actually.
if we recognize that what we repeatedly feel becomes what feels true, that our
Mhm.
subconscious mind believes repetition more than intention, and that your life is just a reflection of your practice assumptions, then we have all the power,
There
you
is
know?
so much power in that.
So, daily practice, observe the assumption. What am I assuming here? What is the assumption? If I'm afraid someone's going to leave me, is it that everyone abandons me? Interrupt catastrophic rehearsal. So don't mentally rehearse the feared thing all day long.
Mhm.
Stop it.
Yeah, right, you have to have some discipline in that wild horse of a mind of yours. You have to.
Yeah. Yeah,
You gotta
exactly.
pull the reins.
I love that, the wild horse of a mind. It is like a wild horse. It'll go anywhere and it's
Yes.
strong and it will buck and it will bite and kick.
Yep,
Yep.
yep.
And then practice the feeling that you want right now. Not fake happiness, but like safety, openness, worthiness, groundedness, wealth, like all of it. And really, we want wealth to feel safe. So safety's kind of gets it all. And not, I'm trying, like, speak from the identity that you want. Like, speak from, I'm becoming someone who trusts herself. I'm
Mm,
becoming someone who generates wealth. I'm becoming someone who's so confident instead of, I'm trying not to fail.
right, that language is so important.
And when we repeat it, the subconscious starts to believe it. So maybe the work isn't forcing life to change. Maybe the work is becoming conscious enough to stop rehearsing the same pain.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Stop rehearsing the same pain.
So if any of you are interested in diving into this work, both Erin and I work one-on-one with people, and we love the opportunity to work with people that are interested in this kind of development. We also have some group coaching programs. We have retreats that we offer. Our next Grit and Grace retreat will be happening in the fall of 2026. So if you didn't get in on the first one, September 2020, stay tuned for an announcement about that. But I'll say one thing. Tell yourself, I'm the kind of person who invests in good help because I'm worth it.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Any final words, Erin?
I just really loved this episode. It was it's so interesting to dive into this, and I hope our listeners are as excited about all of this as I get because it's just like, this is amazing. This is life-changing. So
Me too.
I just really appreciate all of our listeners
Me too. And
so, so much.
I want to say,
The
I just want
depth
to acknowledge the
in my
feeling
heart.
of having a friend like you, like feeling fully chosen and seen and embodied, like all of it. What a gift that is in my life. And I look around at, I'm surrounded by so many beautiful people and things. And I just, I also think that appreciation for those things out loud helps to amplify those feelings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, when yesterday when you said, "I've chosen you," I'm like, "You have for years, and I love you to death for it."
Same. Right back at you. All right. Until next time, share the show, everyone. Please share the show.
Yes.
We love when you share it. It's growing. We're doing really well. We're now in the
Yeah,
top 20% of podcasts. My goal is to get us in the top 10% over the next 6 months. So if you know someone who could benefit from this, please share it. It helps us so much. And I am envisioning top 1% for us.
amazing.
Yeah.
Me too.
All
Let's
right,
combine
everyone.
our
Until next
forces.
time.
Bye, everybody.